to enjoy our video feed. And I am being told that this hangout is live. So if you'll step on over to YouTube for a moment, you can behold the wonder that is Agent DJ. And I will just have to don my disguise here.
All right. Yeah, give me like 60 seconds, DJ, before you start this damn thing. And I'll be right.
Okay, we are putting the horse before the cart. We had it the other way around, and the poor thing was confused. So we're taking a moment to get our bearings and make sure that the horse is at the right side of the cart. So we have a last moment addition here. Someone's joining the chat room. Bear with me. Okay, and we are just a minute over the top of the hour, but we will be starting momentarily. And have some folks who are trying to get into the room. And we have Tommy that's typing out a message to the room. And apologies for any technical difficulties, folks. I know that Discord doesn't always play nice with everyone. There is an app for those of you who are on a smartphone or tablet, so you can install that ahead of time. You don't need to be at your laptop or your PC. You can enjoy our program from anywhere. You can use Discord.
Yes. I'm back. I'm ready. I'm pertinent. I'm live. Whatever you're ready, DJ, you are in control. Go ahead.
Okay. So we will go ahead and jot on over here. So, all right, folks, let me grab the microphone. So, good evening, Mr. Smellie. How are you this fine night?
Oh, I am so good. I'm feeling occultish. I'm feeling like weird, like cult vibes tonight. I don't know why, DJ. Maybe we'll find out.
Be sure to put on your tinfoil hats, folks. You are in for a show, and there may or may not be cows involved somehow.
Cow. Yes, maybe.
So we will turn the spotlight over to the stage where we have our candy counter lady. Gertie, are you in the house?
Gertie, are you here? I'm here, for heaven's sakes. I'm always here. Just start the damn thing.
Okay, Gertie.
All right.
Now, the gentleman in the front there has got your cue cards, Gertie, so you got your lines?
Yeah.
Alrighty, let me cue up our little moment here.
Oh, I could be at home right now. Oh, Jesus. Oh.
Okay, I'm trying to... Okay, here we go. Take it away, Gertie.
Hey, everybody. This is a TV show that has a fox in it. And it ran on Fox on Friday nights. You know, I used to dress as a fox for this one gentleman in a gentleman's club. Oh, well, anyways, there's mysterious government types in suits and unmarked cars, conspiracy theories, sideshow freaks, and little gray men. Tonight, we're watching the 90s occult thriller, The X-Files. Hit it!
What do you get when you take a dash of the silver screen? A pinch of the golden oldies, and a smidgen of streaming. It's time for Matinee Minutiae with your hosts DJ and Toppie.
Welcome, folks, to the beautiful, historic Marionette Theater. Come in, sit down, grab your seats, and please avail yourself of the complimentary blankets. It's a little chilly in here.
Oh,
We
boy.
may not have paid the bill on time. We're
Is it
still
ever?
working that out with the management folks.
Folks, the Marionette Theater is a little drafty tonight, so just bundle up. You'll be okay.
Drafty, you say? I thought we told Gertie not to have chili before she came in.
No, that's not what I meant, DJ. That's not what I meant.
So we are brought together here tonight by our love of film and television trivia. Matinee Minutiae is not your ordinary show. We're not going to just be talking about the TV show of tonight's subject. No. We're going to be getting down to the nitty-gritty, and we're going to find out, what did Gillian Anderson name her children?
Oh, in real life?
Yes.
Ooh, I can't wait to find that out because I don't know that.
Oh, so we have a few folks that have joined us in the chat room tonight.
Yeah, let's say hi.
Yes. And Mr. Smellie, can you go on the roll call for me there?
All right, let me just take a... Somehow I've gotten off the... Oh, here we are. Listen, look at that, folks. Look at that. We've got a chat room full of people. I'd like to say hello to Chubtastic. I'd like to say hello to Janet. And here's who's that now? Libby Little. No, what's it called?
I think it's Library Lady.
Oh, Library Lady. All right. And then there's Tommy. There's our Tommy, our pal. And there's the Shy Yeti. Oh, and there's Billy, your hubby. DJ, your hubby's here.
Yes. So he is down there in the feline parlor entertaining those little fur babies. So, all right. Well,
wait a minute. Do we know who Cubtastic is?
I think that may be our friend Brent, but I'm not entirely.
Oh, is that Brent?
Sure. It could be. I know that Matt is often here, but he usually uses a different name.
Yeah, I don't think it's Matt. Anyways, folks,
it's who they are.
Great to see y'all. And I hope you're all ready to hear a whole lot about the X-Files.
So we are at the part of the program where I set the stage, as it were. I tell you what's going on in the world at the time of the show. Now, normally if it's a movie, it's the world in that year the movie came out. However, this is a long-running TV show, so I couldn't possibly cover the 9+ years it was on. I'm just going to give you a glimpse at the world in 1993 when X-Files first debuted on Fox.
That was a long time ago. It's hard to remember just how long ago this damn show started. Tell us all about it, DJ.
Oh, right. So in 1993, Bill Clinton was sworn in as the 42nd president.
Yeah.
The World Trade Center was bombed for the first time.
Oh, the first one. The first
one. I think that involved a delivery truck with a fertilizer bomb at the time.
Yeah, down in the basement.
Right. Rodney King was arrested in Los Angeles, which eventually resulted in a lot of rioting. He was an African-American gentleman, and There was a question about if he was profiled. Let's see, Intel, the computer processor chip company, shipped their first Pentium chips.
Yes.
And then we also have an executive order allowing women to fly warplanes was enacted. The Clintons' don't ask, don't tell policy was instated. So
Yeah.
before then, you basically could not be homosexual and in the armed forces. If it was found out that you weren't a heterosexual, you were basically dismissed. And with don't
Mostly.
ask, don't tell, you could at least lead your life in private, although some might say that wasn't, a life of liberty.
Well, at the time when this was passed, us gays said, "Okay, Clinton, pat you on the back," but that was sort of half-assed. But anyways,
And then also in 93, Microsoft's first business operating system was released, Windows NT 3.1. The Brady Handgun Violence Protection Act was passed, trying to restrict handgun ownership, and it required background checks that were not part of gun ownership before then.
right. Brady, if you remember, is the guy that sort of got in the way of President Reagan during his assassination attempt, and he, well, I guess he was shot in the head and he had brain damage. But he lived and he passed this legislation. That was God, jeepers, that was a long time ago.
And then lastly, in 93, the Space Shuttle Endeavour was launched to repair the Hubble telescope. And this was a big to-do because, they had launched the Hubble telescope, I want to say possibly 5 to 10 years before, not realizing that there was an imperfection in the mirror until it was in space already.
Yeah.
And they had to put a task force together to figure out how in the world are we going to save our tax dollars when we already put the thing in orbit.
Yes, that was a major snafu at the time that everyone just thought it was a big Homer Simpson moment. It really was.
And normally I tell you about the other films that were out the same year, but since we're talking about television, I'll just give you a brief glimpse at the other things on TV
All
when
right,
The
cool.
X-Files was new.
Yeah.
So we have in 93, ending a long run, was Cheers on NBC.
Oh, Jesus, it went on forever.
And then on CBS, Knots Landing had its final season.
Yes, I was a Knots Landing fan, DJ.
That was a spin-off of Dallas, I do believe.
Yes, it was.
And then also Designing Women was in its final year.
Jeepers.
And then also that was on CBS as well. And then on ABC, Doogie Howser was in its last season.
God.
And on NBC, Quantum Leap. So we had a bunch of shows that were ending, and Fox was relatively new. I think that Married with Children was one of its first programs, followed by The Simpsons, and The X-Files was an opportunity for them to start something when a lot of long-running shows were ending. Also new that year was Frasier on NBC. You had the groundbreaking NYPD Blue on ABC. Now, I don't know about any of you folks, but NYPD Blue was kind of special to me because at the time, there was next to no nudity allowed until a certain hour on TV.
Oh, you wanted to see that guy's butt.
Yes.
What you wanted to see.
I'm forgetting his name. He's
I am too.
David, I think his name was David Caruso. He was a red-haired gentleman.
Yeah.
And it was a locker room scene. Everybody knows about it. But he put the blue in NYPD Blue.
Kind of.
We also have Walker, Texas Ranger on CBS was new that year.
Oh, DJ, we should just say that NYPD Blue was a network show. And I believe it aired at 10, maybe 9, but probably 10. And
hence somewhat less restricted.
Yeah, it pushed It was one of those early shows that pushed what TV could get away with at the time. And I don't really know how they did it, but they did. They had some butt shots on network TV.
It was all about equality in the 90s. So we had Walker, Texas Ranger was new on CBS. The Nanny also on CBS was new that year.
Nanny, I'm the nanny. Oh, sorry.
Then we have on ABC was Grace Under Fire with my personal favorite comic Brett Butler. You have also ending out 93, brand new in the sci-fi realm was Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
And then on NBC was Roy Scheider, who was famous from Jaws. He was the captain of a submarine called the Sequest DSV.
DJ, did you ever get into that show?
Oh my goodness. The event we're going to this next weekend, when it got started in the mid to late 90s, Sequest was new on the air, and the actor who played the teen heartthrob on that show was one of their early guests.
Yeah. Who was I can't remember. Brolin, Josh?
No, and unfortunately, he's one of those child actors who has since passed on. But he's in Neverending Story, and let me just look that up here, and then we will go right into the X-Files here. Lady Janet might be able to tell us.
Well, she says Jonathan Brandis.
Yes, Jonathan Brandis was the teen heartthrob on Sequest DSV, and this is a child actor who, in later days, after Sequest was off the air, he had an opportunity to actually enter a new chapter into his career. He was considered to play the young adult version of Anakin Skywalker in the Star Wars prequels. However, he lost out the role to Hayden Christensen. And of course, it just went all downhill from there. You can, I won't paint the picture for you folks. It's not a happy ending, but if you're interested, look up Jonathan Brandis. He was the teen heartthrob from the 90s sci-fi series Sequest.
And that right there, DJ, that's why we are all about trivia. And right here on Matinee Minutiae.
Now, we have a laundry list of people that came together for the show that we are talking about tonight. Toppie, tell me about some of the people who are in the cast.
Well, the main two was David Duchovny. Did I say that right?
You did.
And Gillian Anderson. Did I say that right?
You did.
Because I always wondered if it was Gillian. Anyways, these two kids, I saw something amazing that Gillian Anderson was 24 when she started out on this TV series. Can you believe that?
Oh, yeah. She was quite the young thing in the pilot episode. Oftentimes, a pilot is made sort of like a TV movie. They have a script, and they're trying to pitch it to the network. And once the network is sold on the idea, that's when they get what they call greenlit to do an entire series. So sometimes there's as much as 6 months to a year between when the pilot is filmed and when they perfect the look for what they're going to do for the series.
Right.
And
so
some of those changes took place between there.
So Duchovny was working in Los Angeles for like 3 years, just trying to get jobs as an actor. And he wanted, he was hoping to get into feature films. But in 1993, his manager, Melanie Green, gave him the script for the pilot episode of the X-Files. And they both, the agent and Duchovny, they said, "Oh my God, this is a good script." And so He auditioned for the lead, and Duchovny thought his his audition was terrific, but nobody else did, except for the creator of the show, Chris Carter. And he was the only one who thought, oh my God, Duchovny is Fox Mulder. And that's pretty much why he got the role. It's because Chris Carter said that's it. Because nobody else thought Duchovny was it.
Well, and the Chris Carter probably also thought that David Duchovny was perfect for the role because just before they picked him up for the X-Files, he had had a few brief appearances on a similar show called Twin Peaks.
Wait, say that again.
Yeah, David Duchovny, star of the
X-Files. Twin Peaks?
He had, I think it was about 3 appearances during the run of Twin Peaks.
Oh my God, I swear, I have no memory of that at all. And I was a lover of Twin Peaks, but I guess I probably just didn't know his face back then.
Well, and considering that he was quite young, I mean, this is one of those scenarios where I'm watching it and, I don't have kids. They're not in school. I didn't go to a graduation recently. So sometimes you have those little moments in life that remind you of your age. And I'm watching the pilot episode of The X-Files and I'm realizing, wait, I'm older than he is when he's filming this.
Yeah.
So he was all of 33 when he did The X-Files, and interestingly enough, it seems like it was either done just before The X-Files or it was released at the same time as The X-Files. David Duchovny had sort of a softcore porn series that was released on Showtime called The Red Shoe Diaries.
Woo, 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 woo.
And it was basically an erotic confessions show. He was a character that had people write letters to him, and I think he might have been producing a magazine or some sort of print publication. And that was the shtick of the series, was people telling their dirty laundry. And I just remember, of course, because we only had basic cable, that I would see in the TV guide, back when they would put that in the paper every week.
Yeah.
I saw something that had a titillating title called The Red Shoe Diaries, and I'm like, oh, I have to watch
I
that.
sort of remember that. You want to know something else? This is neither here nor there, but I seem to remember press clips about Duchovny having a sex addiction problem. And I don't know if that was made up. I just remember that for a while that was a thing. Duchovny had a sex addiction problem and he sought help for it and got healed. I don't know. I just remember something about that.
That plays a little bit into his part, though, Fox Mulder, because there were, certain situations, and this is how a TV show gets to be called a sitcom, is a situational comedy, where, you have the smart lady that he's working with, and she comes in, and it was a well-known fact by anyone who was a longtime fan of the X-Files, that Fox Mulder, well, he had a problem with dirty magazines.
Oh, that's right. That was part of his character.
Yes, and
he looked at porn. That was referenced many times.
And it was almost a painful guffaw moment. I'm watching one of the first season episodes, and he's at his desk, and it just so happens that the subject of the magazine was like a murder victim or something. But Scully walks in with him holding the magazine, and of course, she deadpans the line, "Hard at work, Mulder?"
Yes. I think I recently just saw that. Let's get down to brass tacks, Nails, DJ. The
Yeah.
X-Files was a show that was on the Fox network. And I got to tell you, when I first checked it out, I saw what looked like a videotaped opening for the show. And I
Mhm.
looked at it and I said, boy, does this look cheap. Well, as a matter of fact, the producers intended the opening to look like video. I didn't get that at the time. I just thought, this looks like some stupid syndicated show that I'm not interested in. And so I never watched it until years later, when it was much later on in the run, and I finally started watching it and got hooked and realized, God damn, this is a good show. I've missed out all these years. How did you
Mm.
come across it?
Well, it was a convenient time, really. I mean, 93, I was, just leaving junior high, going into high school, and I was freshly indoctrinated into sci-fi fandom because the 25th anniversary of Star Trek had just happened, and I was hungry for something new to watch. So, of course, Deep Space Nine was coming on, but my father also loved old classic sci-fi movies like The Day the Earth Stood Still, and The X-Files seemed to play right into that for him because it wasn't a specific brand of sci-fi, it was sort of everyday ordinary people, and if you think about it, Fox Mulder is sort of the evolution of the old school sci-fi fan, I'm sure you remember the days when people used to pretty much call Star Trek fans the kid that never left their parents' basement.
Okay.
And, Fox Mulder is a guy who wears a suit to work, but yet he's into the paranormal, the occult, and it just so happens that his sister was abducted. So, we now have somebody who we could take a little bit more seriously because he works for the government.
Right. So the premise of the series, very shortly, is that here's an FBI agent, Fox Mulder. When he was a kid, his sister was abducted. He has a lifelong obsession with that event that leads him to explore many occult themes. And in the FBI, he develops a history and an expertise in understanding the motivations of killers. There's another word for that, but I can't think of it. At any rate, Mulder is considered an expert in understanding the psychology behind killers. But he also has a reputation for this occult stuff, and people in the FBI call him spooky, and he's kind of weird. And they finally find a place for Mulder, and it's in the X-Files. The X-Files are cases that are filed away, literally, because they just can't be explained.
And
And
conveniently, sorry, go ahead.
Fox is in charge of it, and the FBI is a little apprehensive about this move, and they bring in Scully to kind of keep an eye on Mulder, and that's how it all begins. And what I'd like you to do, DJ, is play that first clip. And what you're going to hear is the very first scene where Scully and Mulder meet. You're going to hear the theme song, and then you're going to hear Scully and Mulder quite a few years later. And you'll hear what they have to say to each other after all their experiences. So let's play that.
So Nobody down here but the FBI's most unwanted.
Agent Mulder, I'm Dana Scully. I've been assigned to work with you.
Oh, isn't it nice to be suddenly so highly regarded? So who did you take off to get stuck with this detail, Scully?
Actually, I'm looking forward to working with you. I've heard a lot about you.
Oh, really? I was under the impression that you were sent to spy on me. Scully, what are you doing here? Actually, I was just getting dressed to come see you, but I couldn't find a tie to go with my victory cap.
Mulder, no work. You have to go back to bed.
Oh, wait. Tie goes to the runner.
Mulder, I was so determined to find a cure to save you that I could deny what it was that I saw. And now I don't even know. I don't know what the truth is. I don't know what to listen to. I don't know who to trust. Diana Fowley was found murdered this morning. I never trusted her, but she helped save your life just as much as I did. She gave me that book. It was her key that led me to you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know she was your friend.
Scully, I was like you once. I didn't know who to trust, and I chose another path, another life, another fate where I found my sister. But even though my world was unrecognizable and upside down, there was one thing that remained the same. You were my friend, and you told me the truth. Even when the world was falling apart, you were my constant, my touchstone. And you are mine.
And I'm sorry if that audio didn't come across clear enough, but that was Scully saying, "You're my touchstone," and Mulder saying, "You are mine." And that was the evolution of the relationship, which was primary to this television series, of how Mulder and Scully came together and worked as a team. And I gotta tell you, it made all the difference in this TV show because you cared about these characters. You cared about them.
The composer who wrote the music, Mr. Mark Snow, he reported that the producer, Chris Carter, didn't originally like the first version of the song that he put together, and on one of the attempts he made, he forgot that he'd left a special effect on his keyboard, the echo, and it also turns out that Mark Snow's wife is an accomplished whistler, so the whistling that you hear in the theme of the X-Files is that of the wife of Mark Snow, the composer.
Are you shitting me?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not supposed to swear on the show. I, honest to God, thought that was just, a synthetic thing they did. That's amazing.
Now, also, trying to get my computer reply here. Also, Mark Snow was an accomplished composer. In fact, he worked on several other. Get to my info here. He also wrote music many years before the X-Files for the 70s TV sitcom Heart to Heart. and he did music for William Shatner's police TV show T.J. Hooker.
Oh.
And after the X-Files had its run, he did music for, I want to say it was the WB, which became the CW. He did Smallville, which was the Superman TV show.
Yeah. And Hunt Cub, we are looking in the chat and we are watching what you said in the chat. I'm not sure I'm following everything because Tommy recently called Billy a fucktard, but I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure why that happened. But anyways, we are keeping an eye on the chat. Oh.
Yeah, then we had a couple of momentary delays where we were flipping between clips and different sources here. So, Toppie, the 90s when the X-Files came out was a very interesting time frame because sort of as a result of the X-Files, a lot of other programs came into vogue. Now, within just a few years here, actually the same year as X-Files debut in 93, we had a film called Fire in the Sky, which actually depicted a UFO abduction. And I'm forgetting the name, but it actually starred the actor who was the young boy in E.T., Steven Spielberg's film. He was all grown up, and he was the victim of a alien abduction experience. Now, also within a couple of years of the X-Files, on Fox as well, we got another sort of conspiracy theory TV show with government types. We had VR5, which starred Louise Fletcher, who was the nurse on One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. She played the mother in this series where her husband was a brilliant scientist working with virtual reality in the early days. And it just goes from there. We also have a 96 Independence Day, certainly launching careers further with Will Smith. And you have Men in Black in 97. And it's quite interesting if you think about it, because within 2 decades of the infamous Roswell incident, someone who would have been born that year, which was 1947, would have been old enough to have voted, and at the time that the Freedom of Information Act was passed, the original one during the Johnson administration. And then just within 5 years of the Freedom of Information Act, the infamous Hill abduction of Betty and Barney Hill in New Hampshire came to light. This was a very important moment for people who've experienced a paranormal phenomenon because up until this moment, we didn't have a government employee, which Barney Hill was a postal worker, and he gave a testimony under hypnosis of this loss of time phenomenon, which was talked about a lot in the X-Files.
Well, the whole story that came out of Barney, the Barney and Betty Hill story, was the classic alien abduction. And it kind of, I don't know, kind of solidified the whole thing. And I got to tell you, there was a made-for-television movie that starred James Earl Jones. And I saw that as a kid, I don't know, sometime in the 70s, and it scared the living bejesus out of me. Ha! That was, oh my God, the story of Betty and Barney Hill on TV with James Earl Jones. Oh my God, I barely survived.
No, I think that was James Earl Jones playing the role of Barney Hill in that, right?
Yes.
Okay. So yes, the Betty and Barney Hill abduction story brought to light the alien abduction experience and made it taken a little bit more seriously because he was a postal worker. And within 3 years of the X-Files, President Clinton signed the Electronic Freedom of Information Act. So that certainly added to the mystery of the X-Files, and they had a lot of computer use on the X-Files, and of course, being somebody that has a technical background, looking back at this show from the 90s, I could see that those really weren't computers the government was using at the time, but it looked good for TV.
Well, there's a lot of funny things about that, DJ, because as Mulder and Scully were out of their cases, they would always call each other. And this was at the advent of cell phones. And so they would pull out their little phone and then pull the antenna out on their cell phone, and they would talk to each other. And even funnier was when they were in their apartments on their landline phones with their cordless phone. These goddamn phones were huge. Anyways, it's just a funny thing when you look back on that series to see them with these gigantic phones. But anyways, that's
Well,
how
yeah,
it went.
they had the flip phones with the, as you were saying, the pull-out antennas. And I remember seeing an episode where Scully was saying to Mulder, "I can't imagine you without your cell phone." And I'm just thinking back to that point in time, we weren't even sending text messages yet.
Yeah. No, we weren't. We weren't.
Because the phones that they used on camera didn't even have any sort of a display. There wasn't even caller ID at that time.
Mm-hmm. No, nothing like that. But one of the things, that made the series seem as up to date as possible was because they had their characters talking to each other on these cell phones, and quite frequently Scully and Mulder were separate parts, and a lot of their scenes were in these phone calls on cell phones to each other.
Now, Toppie, I'm not sure if you knew about this, but of course, we were talking about the cast, and Gillian Anderson, who was quite the young thing when she started working on the X-Files, she had to lie about her age to the studio for her to be taken seriously.
I didn't know that.
And even though her character is a redhead, she herself is a natural blonde. So, in the more recent years, where they produced 2 more seasons of the X-Files, Gillian Anderson opted to wear a wig because she was going to be working on a film where she was to be her natural blondness.
Mm-hmm.
So, also, Gillian Anderson may have been to your neck of the woods. Now, she's a Chicago native, but in 1987, her love of theater took her to the National Theatre of Great Britain summer acting program, which was held pretty near Pickle Hollow.
Really?
Yes.
I
And
didn't know that.
because she is somebody who loves acting and comedy, of course, she named her 2 sons Oscar and Felix in honor of The Odd Couple. And, actually,
that's weird.
one of the actors from The Odd Couple just recently passed on. He lived a long and celebrated life, but the name escapes me at the moment. But Gillian Anderson was the first actress to receive an Emmy, a Golden Globe, and a SAG award all in the same year.
Was it for X-Files?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I want to say, is that look, this show had excellent performances by all the actors. This you look into this, and every week terrific performances, and they were recognized, as you just heard, and given awards. And it made this show what it was. it was the relationship between these two characters and what they would go through week to week, and you just freaking cared about them. And that was why you tuned in every week.
Now, originally, when they were casting for the parts, they didn't have somebody of Gillian Anderson's body type in mind. They wanted somebody who was a little more statuesque. They wanted a model type because they kind of wanted a leggy blonde, a Pamela Anderson type. But Chris Carter really liked Gillian Anderson's performance, and he actually fed her suggestions on how she could improve her audition. So that's how she got the part, was that Chris Carter was already won over, but he had to help her talk the studio into giving her the job.
Yeah, I heard about that. It's funny how they were actually both doubted as they come on to the show, but soon after, everyone knew this is it. These are the people we needed to have, and the two actors developed the chemistry they developed, and it was all over. I mean, people knew this works, and you could see it on the screen every week.
In the chat room, Hubby Billy mentions that the action figures for the show had cell phones, and when you put them in their hands, they almost made the figure fall over because they were so heavy. And of course, there was always a dead body on the X Files, so they had a toy that was a corpse figure, and it had an alien you could carve out of the rubber stomach it was molded into.
Oh, they had. Oh, wow. Can we talk about the special effects and the practical effects they had to come up with
Oh, absolutely.
every week? The slime, they must have had, like buckets of slime always ready. And, I have to say, for a weekly television series, and let's face it, when they had to do this, they had about 7 days to complete an entire show. It would be nice if they did it in 6, but it was an extraordinary accomplishment that they could do the things that they did in that amount of time, make them look as good as they could, and just polish it off the way they did. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy for anyone. In fact, this is one of those TV shows that had a production schedule that really took its toll on everyone involved. Too many hours, too many late hours. And as the show went on, both stars, basically said, okay, I'll go, hey, if you want me for another season, that's great. Pay me a lot of money. But remember, I'd really like to work less. And,
Yeah.
and that's because they were so physically taxed for so many years.
Well,
And when they got more
think
power,
about it.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, if you think about it, back then it wasn't uncommon for a TV show to have between 20 and 25 episodes. A year only has 52 weeks, so when did they get a day off?
Well, this was the thing. Eventually, what happened was that the actors got new contracts, and they said, "Look, we'll continue to be involved in this very successful television series, but you got to play us right. And for one thing, can we stop filming in Vermont?" And so one of the things they did late on was, okay, let's film in LA. So Vermont made them uh, film things in extreme conditions. There were so many scenes where you could see the breath of these actors, and you would know, fuck, whatever they were filming, it was really cold.
Well,
And
you're
for
getting the
years, they-
you're
yeah.
getting the V letter correct, but it's actually Vancouver, Toppie.
Okay, I'm sorry, Vancouver.
That's okay.
And they filmed there for years. And finally, the actor said, "Can we just, this is just too much." And they went to LA. And both actors figured out ways that they could spend less time on the series. And that's why eventually there was a bit of a cast change. And towards the end of the series, you had new characters come in. They took up a lot of time on screen. Uh, David Duchovny was virtually written out for a while, and so was Gillian Anderson to a certain extent. She stayed in there longer. And the producers knew all along that as it ended, they would bring both of them back. It was all planned. And at the very end of the series, both stars came back and they concluded this entire mystery about Scully's baby and blah, blah, blah. And they had what they thought was a great finish that a lot of people criticized. But the show ended with kind of a spectacular, uh, serialized, uh, I don't know, 8 or 9 episodes that led up to the end. And it finally finished. And some people were really happy with it. Others thought like, "Oh Jesus!" But the show went out with kind of a spectacular bang.
Now, before the show was over, and you were already talking about this, they changed their filming location. They moved from Vancouver down to the Los Angeles area. Now, they were also filming at night because there were a lot of nighttime scenes in some of the cases. And part of the problems that occurred during those early days of their run were because people were out all hours filming the show. They would get home at the wee hours of the morning, and some of the production staff may have gotten into a little bit of trouble with having difficulty driving home. And
Oh,
this
was
may or may not have resulted in someone being brought up on charges, possibly involving bodily harm. And the studio just figured, well, that's too great a liability. We're going to have to change our shooting schedule.
mhm. Well, all I know, it was very demanding on the actors, and as the show went on, they contractually negotiated ways that they could be taxed less. Um, and that's why you got the other actors that came in towards the end, and why you saw much less of Mulder and everything. And it just must have been a terribly, on a week to week basis. y- I just can't imagine the schedule involved in trying to pull off one episode a week like that, to film it and do it, and it must have been very taxing.
Well, I know that another actor that worked during that time frame, Kate Mulgrew, who was involved with many other things, including Star Trek Voyager. Um, in her autobiography, which I think was called Born with Teeth, she recalled memories of that time frame, and the demands of the filming schedule were so strict and taxing that she barely got to see her family, and it estranged her children from her for a long
Yeah,
time.
this was not uncommon on TV work, because you would put in 10, 12, 13-hour days. And especially the X-Files because they did so much filming during the night. It was just like, oh my God. They did it and they had to, and everybody did it, but it was very taxing. Um, and when they went to LA, it was just easier on everyone because, well, LA is where they did all television.
Now, I don't know about you, but everybody had their own reasons for what made them interested in the X-Files. Some people tuned in to watch the monster of the week. Some people tuned in to watch the Tales of the Fantastic because you also had, well, for lack of a better term, the sideshow freak episodes. Now,
Yeah.
I, of course, watched it for the tales of the little green men or gray men. And apparently, there were a total of 69 episodes during the course of the show's run that involved aliens or alien abduction. And each of those episodes had a first scene opening of a starry night sky.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you caught it the other night, Toppie. I was looking out my window in the wee hours of the morning before the sun rose, but we had a beautiful moon out the other night, and there were two bright objects in the sky. And I was listening to the radio, and it explained that here in the Northeast, we were able to see Venus and Jupiter on either side of the moon, and it was just breathtaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Before we finish out here, I was just going to mention that one of the long-running characters through the course of the series was sort of a mystery man. He was a government agent that just nicknamed him as Smoking Man, or he also was known as Cigarette Smoking Man, or
Cancer
le-
Man.
yeah, less sensitively Cancer Man, which I think fewer people are calling him that. But the actor William B. Davis that played Smoking Man was a Canadian actor. Coincidentally, he quit smoking in the late 70s.
Ha!
And after the first season or two of playing his character, he was smoking real cigarettes, and well, he politely asked the studio, "Can we switch these?" Because his character wasn't supposed to stick around, but he was very popular, and they decided to keep him in. And he said, "If I'm going to stick around, we're going to have to switch these out. I can't, I can't revisit old habits here." But William B. Davis was also a former drama professor. He ran his own acting school in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So, Toppie, we are at the part of the show where we gather our thoughts about the overall themes of the show, what we liked, maybe what we didn't like, and to put it bluntly, if you were stuck in the middle of nowhere, you were off the grid, you are going to your cabin to escape for the weekend, and you've got your overnight bag packed, would you have a few episodes of the X-Files with you?
Well, I got to tell you, the overall arching story as it progressed over the years was very attractive, and you really cared about these guys. And I gotta say, that might make me pack a few of these, if not all of them, in my little knapsack if I had to go away. It was that good.
I would have to agree. I really enjoyed it. And, since it would be in a cabin in the woods, just like when the show was in its original run, I'd have to have all the lights on because there are certainly a fair share of, to coin the, character's nicknames, spooky episodes.
Well, that was the wonderful thing about the show is that the writers realized that they could be very heavy, very dark, very serious, but they could also have episodes that were filled with humor and were quirky. And were just kind of goofy. And they had this wonderful mix of stories that ranged all across the spectrum. And that was a really nice attribute of the series. DJ, can we play that one clip that's supposed to be the half-hour mark? And it's a conversation between Scully and Mulder that's sort of, I don't know, I would say capsulizes their relationship. Can we play that?
Sure. And then for the folks in our audience, stick around here. We'll be giving you a few breadcrumbs towards our next little show.
Hey, Scully, do you think you could ever cannibalize someone? I mean, if you really had to.
Well, as much as the very idea is abhorrent to me, I suppose under certain conditions, a living entity is practically conditioned to perform whatever extreme measures are necessary to ensure its survival. I suppose I'm no different.
You've lost some weight recently, haven't you?
Yeah, actually, I have. Thanks.
But it is amazing what some animals will do to guarantee the continuation of the species, isn't it? I mean, a creature one of this size must have adapted its behavior over the years to minimize its chances of being seen by its only predator, us. Just coming closer to shore for its prey must be an act of desperation on its part.
Poor Queequeg.
Why did you name the dog Queequeg?
It was the name of the harpoonist in Moby Dick. My father used to read to me from Moby Dick when I was a little girl, and I called him Ahab, and he called me Starbuck. So I named my dog Queequeg. It's funny, I just realized something.
It's a bizarre name for a dog, huh?
No. How much you're like Ahab. You're so consumed by your personal vengeance against life, whether it be its inherent cruelties or its mysteries, that everything takes on a warped significance to fit your megalomaniacal cosmology.
Scully, are you coming on to me?
It's just the truth or a white whale. What difference does it make? I mean, both obsessions are impossible to capture, and trying to do so will only leave you dead along with everyone else you bring with you. You know, Mulder, you are Ahab.
You know, it's interesting you should say that because I've always wanted a peg leg. It's a boyhood thing I never grew out of. No, I'm not being flippant. I mean, I've given this a lot of thought. If you have a peg leg or hooks for hands, you know, maybe it's enough to simply carry on living, you know, bravely facing life with your disability. It's heroic just to survive. But without these things, you're actually expected to make something of your life, achieve something, earn a raise, wear a necktie. So if anything, I'm actually the antithesis of Ahab, because if I did have a peg leg, I'd quite possibly be more happy and more content and not feel the need to chase after these creatures of the unknown.
And that's not flippant?
No. Flippant is my favorite line from Moby Dick. Hell is an idea first born on an undigested apple dumpling. Yeah.
And there you go.
Shall I let the rest play, or you want me to stop?
I think
What was that?
I don't know, but it ain't no duck.
that was just the end of the scene. They were stranded on an island, and they had a moment to talk, and then at the end, the menace was creeping up on them. At any rate, the show succeeded on the basis of this relationship, and that's why it went on for so many years and spawned 2 feature-length movies, motion pictures in the theater, and is still active today, I guess, because they revived it recently with 2 recent big chunks of episodes, like 7 and 7, recently, with the same actors. And Whether it'll happen again, I don't know, but it certainly speaks to how much people loved these two characters and watching them interact.
So it's that time of the show. We're gonna rev up the old machine here, sir, and let our listeners know what's coming down the pike. Are you ready for that?
Yeah. Here we go.
Ooh. Now that one ended up on my side of the desk here, sir. So you want me to go ahead and read what's in that capsule?
Yeah, explain it to us.
Alrighty here. So let me get this geared up. I'm opening up the little capsule here. And oh, this is a good one. All
Ooh.
right, folks, let me tell you what I've got in this capsule. Why, it's a 1987 film. And this has just a boatload of actors in it. It's got Andrew McCarthy, fresh off the John Hughes films. It's got Kim Cattrall, who will later be in Sex and the City. And it has Estelle Getty in it from the Golden Girls.
Oh my God. Is it a TV series or a movie?
It's a movie. We're going to be watching the 1987 film Mannequin.
Ah, no, please tell me no.
With a soundtrack partially by the talents of one Grace Slick in the band that would later become known just simply as Starship, because, you know, it was the 80s and everything was space related.
Yes. Oh my God. DJ, I did not see Mannequin, but I'm going to look forward to the experience.
And this will be a special Valentine's Day edition of Matinee Minutiae. Our next episode will be on Friday, February 15th, and we're going to have a special guest with us. Should I tell him who it's going to be?
No, go ahead.
No. Okay, well, we're going to have friend of the show and fellow member of the Univaz family of programming, Mr. Matt Burlingame of Chubb's Gone Wild will be joining us. He recently confessed that Mannequin was one of his favorite films too. So we're going to pull up a chair and we're going to sit and chat about it on our next show. So
that's good.
Please join us on that night. And as always, it's at 9 p.m. Eastern at univazpods.net. So we will say good night, Gracie.
Good night, Gracie. And yeah.
And I will play us out here.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in to Matinee Minutiae. Our show is live every other Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. 9. Stop by univazpods.net. Click the tower for streaming audio and enter Discord for chat. Follow us on Twitter at Matinee Minutiae. Have a comment, question, or a suggestion for a topic? Email us at matineeminutia@gmail.com. And of course, you can visit our website at matineeminutia.com.
I have a voice.
I have a voice.
You have a voice.
You have a voice.
We have a voice.
We have a voice.
Unique voices in podcasting.
univazpods.net. Okay, so with your permission, sir, we'll stay behind for just a moment here and have sort of an after show because we've got a few folks joining us in the chat room that we will be seeing shortly. Is that all right with you?
Oh, that would be great. And thanks everybody for coming by. It means a lot to us.
So I think that this may have been the second time that Jay joined us. He had a little bit of difficulty in getting into Discord. Everything has its advantages and disadvantages, but I really like Discord because it gives us quite a few advantages. I mean, There is an app that people can have on their smartphone,
Mm-hmm.
and as you can see, people are cutting and pasting, GIFs into the chat room. They can do that on their smartphone, so it just makes for a overall fun experience because you can listen to the show while you're on the go and be on your phone and be in the chat.
Yeah.
So let's see. We still have Brent, who's cubtastic. We got hubby Billy, got Lady Janet, and we've got Tommy. And so the plan is that we'll arrive at Farpoint, a little before dinner, maybe 5 or 6-ish, depending on when the horse pulls in.
Right. And what we're talking about is a convention in Maryland that's taking place exactly 1 week from tonight.
Yes, and it is the Mid-Atlantic Sci-Fi Extravaganza. Now, I'm not gonna actually include this in the released episode, but, we've got a fair amount of folks that are, familiar with the program there, so, but we're gonna go out to dinner that first night. Gonna meet up with Haunty and Ron, hopefully. Don't know if Brent's hubby is going to be with us. He's told me that he's invited him, so we'll see how that evening goes.
All right.
Unfortunately, one of my past co-hosts, Nerdy Pam, has had a turn of events. The poor lady is a homeowner, and she's had some expenses come her way in the ways of home projects. So she's not going to be able to join the festivities that weekend.
Oh, all right.
But I'm pretty sure that we can rely on Cronehaven to meet up with us there.
Well, it's possible. She sneaks around because she is very mysterious.
Just like the X-Files.
Yeah, we might see her.
And of course, her friend in crime, as it were, may be along for the journey. And for those of you who can stick around, who will be partaking in the festivities that weekend, the intent, at least, and we've done this at least as of last year, we did it once after the costuming contest. We call back. We sneak off, basically. we tuck away into our room, and we sit down for a round of Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah, that's what we do, and don't you forget it. It's amazing.
And the lady Janet is letting us know in the chat room that the new Mexican restaurant that we intend to go to has just opened, which is good news because if you go to their website, I think they're Echo Fresco, it says opening soon. So, and it's actually not terribly far from the hotel. So if we intend to enjoy ourselves, it's possible that we might be walking distance, I think.
Oh, well, that's always good.
I've been keeping in mind that this is our after show and it's not going to be in the episode. So, Lady Jen is asking about having cards on Friday night. I don't know, Toppie. We have our panel at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning, and we're not going to be actually sitting down to dinner until about 7 is when I think Jay said that he would be able to meet up with us just before 7.
Right.
So by the time we get seated and by the time we have dinner, I wouldn't think that we would be back to our hotel room until 8:30 or 9 o'clock. I don't know if being back in our room at 9 o'clock, we would want to have a game of cards that night.
I don't know.
We can decide when we're at the restaurant, see how the evening is going. If it's just the lady Janet and her spouse, that's possible. Or we can just go back to our room for an hour visit before they head home.
Right.
I think it's my understanding that Janet wasn't going to be there for the weekend.
Okay.
But we're going to be meeting up with Janet on Sunday for brunch. And of course, if we run into Crone, she's invited to go to breakfast with us too. The biggest thing is going to be that if we're leaving the hotel on Sunday to go out to breakfast, we basically just need to make sure that our suitcases are in the car because we'll have to have checked out of the hotel.
Oh, ooh.
Because, checkout's usually like noon or just before.
Yeah.
And we can be on the hotel grounds, certainly, because the convention's still going on. So if you find something on the schedule that you want to, partake of before we actually leave one-ish, you're free to stick around if you'd rather. I mean, because it's entirely possible you may run into Crone and she may have other plans. And if you end up staying at the hotel to visit, that's perfectly fine. I've only committed Billy and I to breakfast with Janet. You don't have to come along. That goes for Tommy too. He's welcome to join us for breakfast on Sunday, but so Brent is talking about Friday night. So Janet's basically saying that they're not available on Saturday because they have a prior commitment. That's understandable. We're just trying to decide if we're going to have time after a dinner out with friends, if we're going to be hosting our panel at 10 o'clock in the morning the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Because, we got to get up and have breakfast. So I don't want to pigeonhole us into, even before we've gotten there. Is that all right with you, Janet, if we decide at dinner on Friday? Because I realize that you said that your schedule is booked for Saturday, but regardless, we're going to see you on Sunday for breakfast, and we'll have had dinner with you on Friday. So, I guess Paul has left. Jayeti has left.
Yeah, folks are going out.
We've gone past our 5 minutes here, so if you want, I will take us off the stream and we can, close the curtain.
All right.
Okay, so let me go ahead and hit the end of the stream here. Where is it? I'm gonna hit stop. Stop recording. Yes. Okay. If you could pull up the stream for me, sir, just make sure we're off.
All right, I will try to. Here we go. God damn it, that doesn't work either. I don't know.
Are you having trouble navigating?
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about it is we have last year's presentation recorded because you recorded it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if I ever told you or if you ever discovered it, but I put a link to your episode featuring our panel on the Univaz webpage.
Mm-hmm.
There's a section on our page I think it's titled Events, just because I wanted to demonstrate that we are actually active in the community. And so I put pictures from last year's Farpoint on there, and then a brief discussion or a brief summary of our activities, and then I gave a link to your Smellcast episode, so anyone who wanted to listen to it.
Okay, cool.
and it's not like linking to the audio file. It actually sends them to your website so that they can, if they're new to your show, they'll have the other episodes and stuff.
Right.
Because in the early days when you would start making web pages on your own for the first time, everybody told you, don't link to anybody else's files, use your own. I don't know if that was a thing for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you understand why not linking to other people's files is important.
Yeah.
Because they may move it or they may delete it, and suddenly your link doesn't work.
That's right.
So, anyways, Tommy is saying goodnight in the chat room, but he wouldn't hear us anyways.
Yeah. I did get onto the stream, and we are off. I can confirm that. I can confirm that anyways.
I hope I didn't interrupt you too many times. I think that it was part of the 7-second delay that you have on any live broadcast.
Sure.
I hope that you felt that the case.
Yeah, it was no problem.
Okay. So how did you feel about tonight?
I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I'll, looking forward to hear when it comes together, but my feeling at the moment is we did a good job.
Excellent. Now, I don't know. I mean, I assume that you actually sleep sometimes. I don't know. We both did time with Paul last weekend. Hubby and I interviewed with him for, I think, what he's going to call his Valentine's episode.
Uh-huh.
And I think you had just told me, well, no, actually, I think we alternated. When we did our last show, you and I, you told me that you were recording with Paul that night.
Yeah.
Okay, so we alternated weekends, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll have this in Dropbox, tomorrow or Sunday, and then have it released Monday. Did you know? Well, firstly, I was very pleased. Oh wait, oopsie. Okay. Oopsie. We're still live.
Oh, we are
on YouTube.
sorry.
Yeah, I forgot to turn off YouTube.